I mean, if you look at the African continent, this is like when we talk about regional hegemons and spheres of influence, there are three countries in Africa that are poised to become the continental hegemons. Three countries that have the population, that have the economic mass, that have the institutional depth, that have the geographic centrality, and that have the resources, the base of resources to become gravitational fields inside of Africa. That's Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa. Egypt is obvious. They control the northern Mediterranean. They have the Suez Canal. They have historically been sort of the gateway or the bridge to Africa, to the Middle East, to Asia, to Europe, and so forth. Egypt is a behemoth. Egypt is an absolute behemoth. It's been the regional anchor for millennia. So Egypt is incredibly important. 105 million people, domestic market, North Africa's most significant industrial base. And most importantly, Egypt has a military state structure that is backed by Gulf money, GCC capital, GCC money, and they've been managing external pressure. They're used to that since the time of Nasser, since before Nasser, for hundreds of years, if not thousands. I mean, Egypt's deep state has basically a 5,000-year-old political culture. They have Saudi Arabian and UAE backing worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and they have a military that basically owns the whole economy. You're not colonizing Egypt. Not at this point. You're not colonizing the Egyptian economy at this point. The A-National OCGFC would have to go into a direct confrontation with the Egyptian military apparatus itself, and with the GCC, with the Saudi Arabians and the Emiratis, if you want to take. That's too expensive. You can't do a direct confrontation like that. Not with the very regional powers that you need as partners moving forward in the new regional order, in the post-transition order. So Egypt is off the menu, practically speaking, completely off the menu for the A-National OCGFC. And the Gulf is the one that took them off the menu, frankly. So then that leaves you with Nigeria and South Africa. Egypt is off the menu. That leaves you with Nigeria and South Africa. Nigeria is already West Africa's hegemon, the West African hegemon by any metric that you want to go by. 220 million people, the largest economy in Africa, the world's sixth largest oil producer, right? Lagos is arguably the most dynamic financial center, the most dynamic cultural center. And Nigeria has a diaspora in every major city around the world, you can say. They have a whole media culture. They have film, cinema, and so forth, Nollywood, what you call. They have a very influential intellectual class that's very influential on the continent. Nigeria, if they were to achieve genuine sovereignty and use their mass and their relationships to anchor a West African sphere of influence, that's an enormous independent power structure. So, of course, what do you see happening? What do you see happening? Nigeria is under coordinated external pressure. You have AGOA threats, the AGOA threats, the PEPFAR threats. The government is being squeezed between IMF conditionalities, IMF pressure, and popular unrest because of what the IMF is requiring them to do. You got a currency crisis. You got the whole Christian-Muslim, conflict being hyped up, being fanned, the flames being fanned, and so forth. You have the oil sector dependency that's being weaponized through everything that's been going on, like with the Strait of Hormuz, like with Iran and so forth, the oil price and whatnot. You had those American airstrikes in Christmas, right? So the point is, you have two of the three potential or inevitable continental hegemon candidates all being squeezed from externally simultaneously. The external is also manifesting domestically through domestically engineered crises. And that's not a coincidence. None of this is coincidental. This is all strategy. In my opinion, this is all strategy. It's strategy that you should expect and that you should recognize when it happens. Now, I mentioned the Sahel states, the Sahel Alliance, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, and I've talked about them many times before, particularly about Burkina Faso. May Allah protect Ibrahim Traoré. I mean, they're very important. What they're doing is very important. But I don't see them as becoming a regional hegemon, collectively. You have a whole generation of people who grew up watching African leaders being dragged to The Hague, watching Gaddafi being executed in the street, who grew up watching every African leader who didn't toe the colonizer's line end up dead or end up in a Western jail. And now they're seeing Ibrahim Traoré standing up and building Burkina Faso. This has to be deeply inspiring, obviously. It's deeply inspiring. But there's a difference between the imagination and the material. And right now, the AES, the Sahel Alliance, they're the imagination of the continent, but they have yet to become a major economy on the continent. The Sahel Alliance countries are the vanguard of the continent's political consciousness. They've broken the mental dependency on the French model, and they're pointing in the right direction. They're pointing in the direction that, in my opinion, Africa should go. But pointing the direction is not the same as actually leading the caravan. You need economic mass for that. You need industrial capacity for that. For that, you need regional integration. You need regional integration with partner countries who have complementary resources, who have complementary markets for your resources and so forth. That means that the Sahel Alliance project, in order for it to become a genuinely continental force, they need to either have a relationship with a sovereign Nigeria or a decolonized South Africa, or potentially with the GCC, and align themselves with that soft empire that's being built by the GCC and by Turkey and by Egypt. That combination is the nightmare scenario for the A national OC chiefs, for the people who are managing the Africa's position, and for the people who are running South Africa now. That's exactly the kind of a combination that they want to prevent. So again, South Africa, that's the context. That's the context of what's going on in South Africa.